What have you found to be the best practices in growing your, your professional network?
Definitely conferences. When I was starting off, I didn't know about conferences because I didn't study in this country. I mean, you guys, the blessing you have is, you're currently studying. I would intern. I would take every internship available. You guys should be taking internships in every place that you can right now, and go to professional conferences. I to this day, I expand my network every time I go to a conference. I meet the best of the best. I learn from the best of the best. I go teach, and then the students that go to the classes, connect with me, and then I learn from them. So it's amazing. So if you belong to, NABJ, NABJ, be part of these organizations. When you go there, that's where recruiters are at. I know many recruiters. I always tell them that I need a commission because I'm always like, this kid is really good. And they hire them. And I'm like, you know what? I should be doing this. And they'll call me, do you know somebody that can do this? And I'm like, but anyway, I'm still friendly with them, but that's where they are. They set up booth there and they're looking to hire there. So the other good thing, and I want to circle back, and I don't know, we broke up a little about demo tapes and show that you are web savvy. I've seen some demo, pages. They're beautiful. And I mean, right now with all these, easy websites, you can have your own website, put all your stuff on there, and then it's easy to update it because you just, they're kind of, click and, they're so easy to do. So show that you're web savvy, because like I do my web scripts. The more you do, the better. But definitely growing your network, I would go to these professional organizations and go to these courses, and you meet everybody there. It's extraordinary. Oh,
we do have a couple of questions.
Okay, yeah, we've got Jimmy. We've got Jimmy with a question. Jimmy, go ahead.
So when you first started as an investigative reporter, how did you get your original leads? How did you connect with your first set of stories?
That's a good question. So I actually, when I moved to New York, when I worked for a news director who worked for 2020 before. So she was always trying to work investigations. And I got my break there again. That one I actually did want to do. When the investigative reporter went on maternity leave, and she handed me the job for a while. She's like, you're going to be our next investigative reporter until she comes back from maternity leave. I'm like, all right. I would get tips from the community because that was set up that way. But if you are not already a reporter, and you have I have a call center, that handles all my tips. I would definitely, go to consumer services, consumer protection agencies, and find out what people are complaining about, because they're, somebody's getting the calls. The Attorney General's office is getting the calls. The consumer division of the state is getting the calls. So find out what people are complaining about. That's how you get the calls. And that's how you know that you're going to do stories that matter to the community. And nowadays on social, people reach out on social all the time telling you stories. So put yourself out there as, an investigative reporter. And people tag me everywhere. It's so funny. It's like telling on mom, and some people get their stuff resolved just by threatening they're going to call me. It's the funniest thing. I call them back and they're like, oh no, I said I was calling Myriam Masihy. And then they fixed it for me. I was like, okay, well, thank you for calling. but one of those things about branding yourself correctly is, say what you're doing, and people will, they're trying to find outlets. They're trying to find, a way to tell their story. So put yourself out there.
Okay, I got Nicole as well with another question. Nicole, go ahead, please.
Hi, I wanted to ask, you said go to some of these conferences. Like, is these specific type of conferences like media conferences or just networking in general?
No, the media conferences. I mean, I don't know what you want to do, Nicole, but there is an association for everything, I always say. So, there's the National Hispanic Association. There's a whole bunch of associations. There you are, Nicole. You're so pretty. Hey, so you should be on TV. I don't know if that's what you want to do. Here I am trying to push you somewhere like they did with me.
Oh, you're fine. You're fine. Yeah, I would love to get on TV. I mean, I'm like very savvy in social media. That's where I made like a lot of my money. I know here in Cincinnati, it has been really hard just getting even into the entry levels. Like I applied for Spectrum, I applied for, radio, I've applied for everything. So I just feel like there's some type of missing piece. Or a lot of places want you to have a bachelor's degree and to get into some of the internships. So like I've probably done this year like 100 resume shoots, just shooting them out. So I'm just like, I don't know. I probably need to network more maybe. So that's why I was asking what type of conferences, to go to, because yeah, I'm just gonna keep it succinct.
Okay. NABJ. I don't know if Nicole is part of the NABJ, National Association of Black Journalists. When you belong to these organizations, you're going to get tips on who's hiring. And they have these conferences where they set up booths. Everybody sets up booths, and they are actually, recruiters. They're looking for people. So I wish I would have known that when I started. I mean, I sent so many demo tapes. It's funny because years later, when I was really desperate for a job, I got hired by a news director. And one day, he hired me because he saw me somewhere else. He didn't hire me because I sent him a tape. And he was cleaning out his desk one day and calls me. He's like, Myriam, look what I found. I'm like, yeah, my demo tape, jerk. You never gave me a chance. So he's like, I wish I would have known. I'm like, yeah, I know. So I think that these conferences are great because they're actually looking for journalists. You're not just sending stuff blind. They're out there trying to recruit. So NABJ, National Association of Black Journalists, NHJ, National Association of Hispanic Journalists, the IRE, there's all these conferences. You go and recruiters are there looking for people. And you also have talent coaches that help you there as well. You can, so that's another thing. That's another route.
That's an interesting turn, and the things that you're talking about, Myriam, and I want to elaborate a little bit on that, because these guys can go to these conferences, but these guys don't know who's recruiting and who's not. And normally in my area as a voiceover, I have agents and I have managers. Agents you go to, managers come to you. Okay, so in a way, how do I know how to approach, if I may approach one of these guys, or does it happen in a different, in a different circumstance? The fact that they pay attention to you because of something. How does this work in these conferences with recruiters, for example?
They have booths, and that's what they're there to do. So you go, you sign up, and they want to talk to you. You bring them your demo. It is really amazing. It's so funny because once I was in the industry and I started going to these conferences, it's like, oh, so this is how people did it. I was like, oh, I see. So I would definitely, the fees for these associations are very small. And if you're a student, joining these conferences is also not a big deal. It's not as much money as they charge the people who are already in the industry. They give you a professional rate and a student rate. So those are definitely places. They have booths. You'll have, NBC, our recruiters are there, I know them all. They're like, I see them there. What are you doing here? Well, we're trying to find people. They have a job to do too. They have to find people. And so usually what they have are recruiters sometimes, and I'll tell you because I know him, is, you'll have like the actual big honchos there, like Ramon Escobar from CNN will actually go to these conferences and be there. And you're like, you never have a chance to see those people outside of these conferences. And they'll set up one-on-ones. The other thing about these conferences is that you can connect with a mentor. A lot of the times, like I've been a mentor to some of the young reporters there. They're always looking for, to connect you with an older person. I'm not that old, but I know I have my gray hairs there, guys. I have to go, but I'm on vacation. I'm going to do it right before I go back. So, they connect with the mentor, and that mentor has connections. So definitely those conferences, I wish I would have known, I look at that, and internships as well. I came back with my degree from Chile. So I wasn't in college here. But, we just hired somebody at NBC who was an intern for us. She went off to some smaller markets, and then, they remembered her and they hired her here. They're like, oh, she was really good. She was a great intern. She was very responsible, and they hired her. So that's how you get to know people. Definitely get internships and excel at them. Be like the most, the hardest working person, and they'll remember you.
Well, we are kind of running out of time, so I wanted to see if we have any other questions from this group here. Otherwise, I will continue with mine. But if we have any other questions, now would be the time. I do see a hand raised over there. Go ahead.
Firstly, very quick, I'm gonna introduce myself. I'm called Masihy Pt.5, but the very well known is called Mess Nesta. I am a student at Ohio Media School in Columbus. And I saw this post and it was very interesting to be part of this group. I prepared 3 questions that I wanted to ask, but I'm so glad that one of the questions that I had was already asked by Mr. Ediger at the first of the meeting. But I still have other 2 questions. In that 2 questions, I already also developed another 1 question, which still 3 questions. And I'm going to start with that question, the last one. According to how you have explained, I have learned a lot, but this is the situation that is on me. I am a student that I wanted to become on I wanted to become the TV, like the TV anchor, the news anchor on different and big TVs like CNN, BBC, stuff like that. And that was the reason for me to go to school, because I wanted to be on the TV. But while I was doing my classes, our instructors, they have make our path clear and to understand what we can do out there in a different way of how we were thinking. And I came out with this mind of developing my own TV station, where I do everything by myself right now, shooting, filming, editing by myself, but try to put something out there. Now, one thing that I'm doing right now on that TV station is that I'm doing the interview in the form of a talk show, and I put out there. My question is, what do you think I can do to make or to brand this TV station of mine and the program that is going on there to become big, or to reach all over in the community?
So can I ask you a follow-up question before I answer your question? This is what happens when you talk to a journalist. So what is your TV show about?
Probably I talk about my journey, my story. The reason I brought my journey, my story is that because myself, I have a journey, I have a story to tell. I look with where I'm coming from and who I am today. Then I saw that it is a very good idea that I can take my journey, my story, because there's a lot of people out there that they don't have hope anymore. They have lost hope. They have tried whatever they can try and they didn't make it. Now, I try to bring my journey, my story, because if we meet person or people like you, that you are the winning people out there, you can still encourage us, you can build us, and we can come back to achieve what we can achieve in future or today. That was about the show.
Okay, well, I think to be able to, build a show off, I know a lot of people have been very successful on starting their own shows. I would make it as impeccable as possible. I don't know what kind of system you use. I don't know if you know about StreamYard. Do you know StreamYard?
Not yet.
Okay, so StreamYard, and I'll tell you because I do a live interview and I run it all myself. I think I'm like the mix master. I'm doing the interview and I'm clicking videos and making and running the whole thing. StreamYard is a program that allows you to do like a live TV show where you can put videos while the person's talking. You can put 2 boxes and it's all done in this little tiny little computer. So I would make it first. Make sure that the format looks professional, that it doesn't look like a college TV station. I mean, if you go to our the Telemundo 51, our website, our Facebook page and our YouTube page, you'll see these live shows that are just for streaming, and that are done with like 3 clicks of a mouse. So get yourself a good program to make it look good. And then second, know who you're targeting. I mean, know, you know, if there is a community that's underserved. We've had some instances here in South Florida where we've had the opportunity to cater to the Haitian community, for example, that is not being, you know, their concerns aren't being addressed. And they're a huge community here. We had a Haitian American who, by the way, is a beautiful man. I was like, man, and he's pretty too. And you know, that was a missed opportunity. And that person should have been doing stories for the Haitian community because they are underserved. So find out what community you're trying to reach. Who's your viewer? Who is going to want to watch this? And go after it. I know that online there's a lot of programs and things that you can do to, you know, get certain audience, like say, you know, put names very similar to a very popular show already, you know, so people find you or you're recommended as the following show. After they watch their favorite YouTube, your video will pop up because it's very similar to that. So find out who you want to watch this show and make it look professional. StreamYard, StreamYard. When you figure out StreamYard, and it's so easy, you're gonna look like you have your own TV station at home. I mean, I'm always surprised. I'm like, that looked like a real TV show. So make it look real. Don't make it look like a college show. Make it look real, take it serious. And if you are going to be doing interviews, the best advice I give everybody is be quiet and listen. A good interview is not somebody who asks very, very long questions. It's somebody who asks very short questions, and then the person who's you're interviewing is going to answer. I stay quiet. I always say I do like the Japanese, man. I win because I'm quiet. I let them talk. Don't be afraid of silence. You know, sometimes I just stand there with my mic when I'm doing an interview, and the person will like stop because they're thinking, and some people will start interrupting, and I just stay quiet. And then what they tell me afterwards is amazing, because you listen and you let them talk. And when you listen to people, and you don't have your set questions, you know, it gradually goes into the next question from what you're asked, from what their answer. So don't have a set list of questions. You can have some ideas, but always listen to what they're responding, because I've seen so many people ask a question, the person answers it with the answer that includes the next question they had, and then they ask the next question. So listen. Yeah, I know. Listen and be extra quiet, and you know, and don't be the star of the interview. Let them talk.
We got Jimmy as well with another question. Jimmy, shoot.
Currently, am I on yet? I'm on. There we are. We are live. So currently I've been working on building my own brand. As far as my own social media platforms, I'm working on, I like the idea that you mentioned about my website. That means I've got to put more of my content there from my Facebook page. But when you're starting to build your own brand like that, what would you say the most important step would be?
When you're building your own brand on social or in general?
In general, I'm using social media right now. I'm trying to build my media company. And personally, I'm part of that media company because I can do the voice work, I can do all the audio editing as well as, you know, video editing and things like that. But again, yeah, as a generalization.
I think, you know, pictures and video, behind the scenes, natural things. People will, you know, it's funny how people will read a little bit about what you're talking about if the caption or the video is catchy. So I would say if you're building a media company, I would do behind the scenes shots. I mean, when we were shooting the documentary, I was shooting, I mean, my cameraman was, you know, shooting the person with like all his gear, and I was behind him shooting him. And people like to see that. So I definitely would make sure that the image is catchy, because that's what people click on. People right now are very visual. So I am not the greatest at that, but I know that in YouTube, when you do upload things, you can pick the right icon. And sometimes I watch these YouTube videos and I'm like, that video sucked. But I watched it because the caption was fantastic. And like, you won't believe, and you're like, well, I won't believe it. Let me watch it. And it's like a horrible video. And then they do things like interrupting things, like they'll have a cat come out. There's patterns to that madness that make people stay on and watch it. I don't know, you're young, Jimmy, you don't have kids, but my kids watch this dumbest things. And I'm like, why are you watching that? And then I realized it is designed to keep people watching. So make sure it's attractive, make sure it's shot pretty. And I would research all those disruptors and all those things. I know that there is a pattern to get your stuff noticed.
Yeah. And by the way, thank you, by the way. I'm a grandfather. So thank you very much for that.
You're a grandpa? Jimmy, look at you.
Thank you very, very much.
And he has a sound. He has a sound. He has a voice, you know.
He's got an amazing voice. Yeah.
Yeah.
But visually, I mean, visually is so important nowadays. I mean, you know, my husband does events. He used to be a radio. That's when I met. I used to do news for his radio station. I'm married to Gino Latino, a very known here radio disc jockey in South Florida. And he's got an events company, and he's a great photographer, and he's got all these things. But I'm like, you know, I'm his best critic, because I'm like, you need to shoot behind the scenes. Your stuff is so beautiful. Let's shoot some behind the scenes and put it on there. And I think selling yourself is the biggest, you know, it is the biggest tool you have. Know how to sell yourself and get those cool shots, because that's what people want to, it's clickbait. People want to see it.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you.
I do have Walter with another question. Walter.
Yes. Hey, how you doing? I'm a student at Ohio Media School, Cleveland campus. My question to you is, as far as like personal branding with social media and everything like that, how important do you think it is to tell your story so that your viewers or listeners understands you better?
I think it's important to be transparent and authentic. And I think it's very important. Now you have to edit yourself down. Nobody wants to hear you rambling about yourself too long, but to show a transparent, people know if you're being fake, people know if you're authentic. So it is important to tell your story, but you got to think what your brand is. So, I mean, you know, like I was explaining, when I was just an investigative reporter, you know, telling my story about, you know, growing, you know, peppers in my yard made no sense. And nobody cared about that. But, you know, talking about how I volunteered foster homes was important, because people knew, you know, if there was issues with DCF, they would reach out to me. So, you know, you can open up. I was very private. I opened up during my documentary. I was very sick, and I told all that story, and it was very hard for me to open up. And I realized that maybe I should have opened up way earlier. I think I would have gotten, you know, I just don't like to be the center. I'm a very old school reporter where, you know, I'm not the story, they are. But nowadays you do have to show who you are, but be authentic. People can smell a fake a mile away. You know, you look like a humble, normal, kind guy. Tell that story, you know, say what moves you. But, you know, not with an apple cart, you know, don't stand on your, you know, and preach, but say, hey, you know, this touched me. This story touched me, or, you know, I don't know what to think about this. You know, what do you guys think? You know, it breaks my heart, or be authentic. Yesterday, it's so funny because now I'm opening up like I never did before. I took a picture with my nephew, who's super handsome. We were out on a boat yesterday because I'm on vacation, and I put, I believe the kids call, you know, showing off flex nowadays. So here's me flexing my handsome nephew. So I show how, you know, I'm not a young kid, but you know, and people just had a blast. He was wearing his Gator shirt. Everybody started talking about how, you know, go Gators. But be authentic. You know, I'm not a young kid. So you know, I write in the voice that I have. You know, if I start saying, oh, here's me flexing my nephew, they're going to be like, who's that old lady saying flexing? So be authentic with who you are. Talk in your voice, speak in your voice. There's so many people that I hear that are, you know, this is what, you know, reporters sound like. No, reporters sound like you sound. I can tell if you're fake. So be honest. And it's especially, I mean, I worked in New York and they were very welcoming, but like in markets like Miami, if you ever want to live in Miami, they can smell a fake and an outsider a mile away. You come out here, it's like, oh my God, the weather's so crazy. They're like, oh no. They will turn you off. They were so mean. So be authentic. And I would definitely, you have an opinion about things, as long as it's not controversial and it's going to burn you down the road. No, I mean, if you're objective, but show who you are.
I'm going to try to
I
squeeze in
appreciate
because
that.
I got two more here, but
Yeah.
we are out of time. I don't know how.
I was gonna say, Edgar, we're running out of time. I know I put my hand up a while ago just because I wanted to ask Stella's question. She put it in the chat.
Okay.
But I do know that we're well over time, so we probably want to wrap it up. But just real quick, how do you suggest giving your demo material? Like, I know we talked to them a lot about, they do a WordPress, and we suggest doing that digital portfolio. But what do you suggest as the best way to kind of pass that demo out?
Conferences. Definitely conferences.
So how do you give it out? Like, is it on a business card where you have a QR code, or are you taking a flash drive? Like, what do you?
Yeah, I think, those QR codes are amazing. I mean, I think those are amazing because they immediately get it. I would follow up with an email. I've had people send me emails afterwards, and I'm like, that was, the old school stuff still works. So follow up. Thanks so much. It was great meeting you. Here's my demo in case, it got lost in whatever, or, just in case you want to take a look or whatever. So definitely, I would, if you can hand it to them immediately, like with a QR code, that's fantastic. But I would also get their contact information and send them an email with it, with a link.
Yeah. Stella, I think it's the last one that we had here, but I don't see your hand raised up again. So anyway, I think she
just asked my question for me.
yeah. Oh, okay. Beautiful.
Could I jump in for a quick second here?
Sure.
Yeah. Okay, so first of all, thank you. I have to say thank you a million times. You are really an amazing, authentic self, and you shared so generously with all of us. And Edgar, you were an amazing moderator. The two of you together could have a podcast. We could all continue to learn together, We love this series so much because it really gives the people that tune in that opportunity to learn from a pro, to be a pro, and to have this chance, right, to interact. How often does that happen? Which brings me full circle. When you talk about these conferences, these are the places where things are happening where you do get to interact one-on-one. We all send a lot of resumes out and wonder where they go to, because in this day and age, nobody needs to respond to an email, an application, none of it, right? But if you can get to these networking events, you really have a chance to talk about who you are. So, and I would recommend always having an elevator pitch that's not canned, but so you can talk about your strengths and let other people know really the great things that you're doing. Myriam, thank you a million. We've got this recording we can share. I hope you'll come back and join us.
Of course.
Yeah, bring your kids.
I can't believe how quiet they've been.
They behaved.
They've been good. I've heard them up there, but I don't think it went through.
They're so awesome. I think the kids of today, they're kind of used to their moms and dads, having to transact business and swatting them under the table where nobody's watching. But you both were amazing. Thank you for coming in for us today. And I did put some of your contact information in, the places they can find you on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter. And, thank you. I can't say thank you, Linda. You're really a pleasure.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, Edgar. I love talking to Edgar. I'm going to think about that, Edgar. We're going to
bring you back together.
I'm going to take that offline.
Well, we're looking to do a voiceover workshop. Maybe the two of you together might be a dynamic duo.
Please invite me for that. Please.
That was my favorite gig. I'm not going to lie. Being a voice, I was just telling my husband today, that was so much fun. I'm like, they give you a script, you read, it's just fun. And you learn stuff. I did stuff for HGTV about, plants and things, about decorations. I didn't even know half of that stuff. I'm like, this is really cool. All I have to do is read it and I would learn. It was amazing.
You were really blessed. I mean, you've had such an interesting path, in a short period of time. And I love that. I love when you say, I'm not old, I'm just older. Like you're older than that 19-year-old next to you, but that's okay, right?
Yeah.
Hey, okay. So everybody, I wish you a wonderful, wonderful night. And, a round of whatever we do, you can clap on the screen, but really it was just a pleasure. And thank you so much, both of you, for giving of your time. It's great.
Thank you, Linda. Thank you, Myriam.
Thank you, Edgar. Thank you, Linda. Big hug, everyone.
Big hug. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Good night.